So how do I talk to my middle school age son? That was a question that came in from a mom just recently. And my initial response to that, very carefully. But in all seriousness, it's really not a question of how so much as a question of when. Okay? Because suddenly, making the transition into middle school, it's like, Mom, Dad, I don't have any time for you now. You know, I've got friends, I've got schoolwork, then I've got practice. Blah, blah, blah. Number one, there just isn't a lot of time for you. And the time that I do have, I would rather be spending with other people. And that's a tough one. That is a tough one to swallow for a lot of parents, particularly if your son or daughter has been real verbal in the past and they've been sharing things with you and all of a sudden you're getting nothing. Okay, so my first recommendation is listen more than you speak. Okay, listen. And sometimes that means sitting in silence for extended periods of time in a car. Okay? The time on the way to school, the time after school, if you're still trucking your kids back and forth, not really ideal times for conversation. Because in most cases, your son is getting either ready for the day, thinking about what's going to happen at school, or is done at the day and glad that it's over with and really doesn't want to talk anymore about it. So the round of 20 questions, right? The rapid fire when they get in the car after school or when they come to the door after getting off the bus, not a good time for conversation. Okay? Try and catch them at a time where they've just finished with something that they were really excited about. Okay? A soccer practice where they got to get out and run around a little bit and have some good times with friends. That is an ideal time for them to talk about something of interest. And you're listening and you're kind of waiting for those opportunities to show up. And then add to the conversation by asking the how questions. How did you do that? Right? How did that happen? Not the why questions. Why did you do that? Why did you make that choice instead of this one? The why questions tend to put kids on the defensive, and it's kind of like now you need to justify to me why you've done this, versus how types of questions really give kids an opportunity to talk about expertise, talk about what's important, talk about how much they enjoyed something, what were the highlights. You get the idea. So how versus why. Waiting for those ideal times. And again, I mean, they're really fewer in number. So that takes kind of a change in mindset. Right? Beyond that, if you're wanting your son to know that you really are there for him, right? You want to be there, you want to be supportive, just let him know. Hey, I know that you want to spend a lot of time with your friends. Acknowledge the importance of the friend piece, right? And that, you know, it's no longer cool to be hanging out so much with mom and dad. Acknowledge that and what's important to them, but also let them know, hey, if there's ever anything that you want to talk about, I'm here. Okay? I think the toughest relationship for boys is with moms, right? Boys and dads, you know, they've got sports to talk about, or they've got other interests, hobbies that, you know, it kind of develops as it goes. And that's not the case, of course, for every father and son. But I think the strain really seems to come in between mother and son, because they're so used to being close for so many years. Now, all of a sudden, son's kind of developing into an independent person, wants to hang out with the guys, and being around mom all the time, not so cool anymore. So, in sum, look for those opportunities where your son is really wanting to talk and capitalize on them by asking the how, not the why questions so much, but the how questions. And then listen, and be patient. Okay? They will talk, just not as much, but they will talk and they will want to share things with you. All right. Have a wonderful end to your Wednesday. Tomorrow, tune in. Check the website for the time, 10 a.m. Pacific, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to have a guest host, not on this show, but on the radio show, step parenting, an expert in step parenting. So if there's any families out there that are grappling with this, it's quite a challenge. You know, just parenting your own kids and then adding the additional family that adds that extra level of the challenge. So I have an expert that's going to be on the line. Check out the website, thinkingforwardtv.com, for the call-in number, but 10 a.m. Pacific is the start time. We'll go 10 to 10:30. You can tune in anytime. You can also tune in via the web. Go to thinkingforwardtv.com. I'll have a link there that says listen live. You can hit that and you'll be right there with us. So hope to have you tomorrow. If not, of course, I'll share the show with you anyway. Take care.